On Wednesday, a number of villagers of Santa Cruz village in the Toledo district were arrested and charged in connection with an incident in which Rupert Miles was handcuffed and tied up by villagers. Attorney Audrey Matura Shepherd expressed her displeasure with the way the authorities handled her clients. Today, the officer in charge of Punta Gorda spoke to our correspondent Paul Mahung about the pre-dawn operation yesterday.
Officer in Command Toledo Police Formation Superintendent Simeon Alvarez spoke of the operation, arrest and detention phases.
On yesterday around 3:30 a.m., we did a pre-dawn operation in Santa Cruz village based on the report made by Rupert Miles. 12 persons were brought in, they were detained, they were processed, and they had the privilege of communicating with an attorney who is one Monica Cook, the sister of Christina Cook. She was given the privilege to communicate with them. So there was no interference with that, because that is their right. Now, during that process now, I personally had to communicate with Ms. Cook to give us the opportunity to speed up the process so that these people could be taken to court. But she wanted to be with the police during the processing. I told her, Ms. Cook, please set aside. We will give you that privilege to speak with them individually. And that was done to her. That was done. We gave her that privilege. As a matter of fact, I identified a room where she could have speak with them individually, privately. That was done. During their detention, the only person that complained that she was not feeling well was Christina Cook. The attorney brought that to my attention. As a result of that, we asked her if she would want to go to the hospital to seek medical attention. She refused. So she was placed back in a detention cell after she was interviewed by the attorney. When it comes to the other male persons that were arrested and charged, during their detention, none of them complained of any injuries or pain to their bodies. Even though the information during their arraignment, they made certain allegations of police brutality, which in fact I strongly believe did not occur, because there was no reason for that. And the purpose for the early morning operation is because, again, we know that farmers usually go to farm very early, and if we would have gone for them broad daylight, definitely they would have been at home. So we did a pre-dawn operation, and which resulted in the capturing of all players that were involved in the Rupert Miles incident.
Were the families given the opportunity to get appropriate clothing for them at any time, sir?
According to the police officers that went on the operation, the 4 male persons that were brought without shirt, the family were told to bring clothing for them, and apparently they were maybe advised not to do so, but in the process before they being taken to court, they were dressed. Their attorney, Ms. Audrey Matura, she arrived in Punta Gorda at the police station sometime around 1 p.m. And upon her arrival here, she was also given the privilege to communicate with all detainees. And no complaint of any physical abuse was made to me by her.
Superintendent Simeon Alvarez confirmed that Christina Cook was arrested and detained Wednesday morning by police while she was in Punta Gorda. Superintendent Alvarez further confirmed that others who were arrested and detained that same morning from Santa Cruz included Armando Mas, Renato Canti, Iram Canti, Basilio Teul, Pedro Teul, Timoteo Shaw, Alfredo Mess, Michael Shaw, and Isabel Canti. This report is sponsored by Golden Stream Spice Farm Restaurant in Toledo with a variety of delicious cuisine. An on-site tour for sensational experience of the Spice Farm is available. Contact 732-4014. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Punta Gorda.
Manuel Pup, who was wanted in connection with the incident, handed himself into the police this morning. One man who had a close-up view of the happenings in Santa Cruz on Saturday was Orange Walk Central Area Representative John Briceño. Briceño told Love News he was on a family trip heading to the border with Guatemala when they saw the commotion.
And when we were passing through Santa Cruz, then we saw a lot of people at the entrance of Santa Cruz, standing there, lots of people. And what caught our attention that we saw a man of Creole descent, a black Belizean, with handcuffs. We decided that we were going to stop to find out what was going on. And it is only then that we found out that the Maya community had a problem with Mr. Miles, I think is his name, with a structure that he built on top of a hill. My concern there that I can understand if a person is being disorderly, that you can do a citizen's arrest, or in the Mayan communities, I think they do have permission to arrest. But in a case where like this, where you need to move a structure, I believe that they should have gone to the police, take out a summons, and then let the court make that decision, as opposed to handcuffing a Belizean and tying him up. Because I believe we in the PUP, we've always felt that it is one country, it is one people, and we should have the right to live wherever we desire, wherever we wish. But of course, then there is within the rules of the law, or the law of the land, or within the rules of the community. And in this case, the community, they have certain rules that must be followed. My wife was along with us in that trip. And she was very emotional when she saw how Mr. Miles was being treated, and she could not believe that we are treating our citizens like this in this country. So it was an emotional response. But that still does not give the right to the police to behave the way that they did. The police has a responsibility to the citizens of this country. Now, mind you, that there are a lot of good police officers, and I'm not in any way casting aspersions to the police department. My issue with this one is that I believe that they overreached, they overreacted, that there was no need to use that excessive force, that the very job that they wanted to achieve, the very command that was given to them by their bosses in the police department could have been achieved without having to use the GSU. They could have sent the regular police men and women to go and pick up these people. They didn't have to throw them in a truck and bring them without shirts. And give them a chance to put on their shirt and their shoes and take them there. No need to use the handcuffs. I don't think that these people are violent criminals. And that is the concern that I have in the way they were treated.
Briceño said he spoke at length with Rupert Miles and the Maya leaders, including Christina Cook. He says that while he understands the position of the Mayas, he is gravely concerned about their reaction. As former Minister of Natural Resources, Briceño explained that while in office, he signed a 10-point agreement with the Maya leaders for ways to recognize and respect indigenous, traditional, and cultural land. However, admits more needs to be done.
I do support the issue of communal land, but what we need to do now, and the government has undertaken the responsibility along with the Maya Leaders Alliance in trying to define all of this. This has not been defined as yet. And this is where I think where the bulk of the work is left to be done, in trying to define the different roles. And first of all, to define the area, which is the area that's going to be managed as communal land, as a land for the indigenous people. And once that is defined, for us to then to define the rules. How is it that they're going to be managing this land? And I could see that the indigenous people have a special love or affinity to the land and to the forest. They're going into the forest to get food, to get their building materials. So we need to find a way where that they can do that easily without the intervention of BAMAPAN or intervention of the ministry or the natural resources or the forestry department, but that it can be done in a sustainable manner. We believe that once we can define the area, and at least in my mind, I haven't seen where it has been properly defined, that then that we can then set the rules as to how this land is going to be managed communally among the different communities that want to have their land to be held under this system that they have been advocating for.
Arsenio opines that some Belizeans may be reacting based on emotions, including the Prime Minister, and warns that as a small country with an ethnically diverse population, Belizeans should be cautious as to the direction we are taking to deal with the matter.
I think that as citizens of this country, we should all react when you see the images of Mr. Miles with his handcuff and the rope, that they had him tied up. I think that we should react because I don't think that is a Belize that we want to see. We don't want to go down that road. I think we have done a fairly good job in trying to keep racism out as much as possible. No, it does exist. Let's not fool ourselves. But it has never been a problem, like, for instance, like in countries like, say, Guyana or even Trinidad, and even areas like, for instance, like Jamaica, where there is, whilst it might not be race, but it might be class, economic class, where there's this clear distinction. We have managed to control that as much as can be possibly done. So I think that all right-thinking Belizeans should react when we saw the pictures of Mr. Miles, how he was mistreated on Saturday. But at the same time, when we saw the images on TV yesterday, we should also react and say, but hell no, we're not going to allow anybody to be treated that way. It was wrong with Mr. Miles, it was wrong the way that Christina was treated, and the Maya leaders that were arrested. It was wrong the way they have been treated. We had no need to do it that way. There are so many other better ways in dealing that. But what is important, and we cannot and we should not shy away from it, that this is one country. We in the PUP, and I remember George Price saying it, even former Prime Minister Mr. Musa saying it, that we in the PUP will not allow the balkanization of this country. It is one country and one people. Now, we do recognize that there are certain customary rights that the Mayas have, and we should respect it, and I'm prepared to, and I am one of them that would respect that. When I was the Minister of Natural Resources, along with the Prime Minister, we signed a 10-point agreement with them in starting to recognize some of the customary rights that they have down south. I know that the Caribbean Court of Justice, whilst they did not give a ruling, they gave pretty much an instruction, and the government has given an indication to sit down with the Maya Leaders Alliance to work out the issue of communal land and to work out the rules and regulations of how this land is going to be managed. We, as far as I know in the PUP, we do support that.
Do you feel in some way that your intervention on Saturday helped in not turning this incident more volatile? I mean, knowing your reputation in the country and the respect the people have for you.
Well, for a short while it was a bit dicey. It was getting a little bit, very tense, because I was on one side of the street at the start talking to Christina and to Pedro, and they were explaining to me what was happening. And then when I looked up, Will was on the other side walking up the hill, interviewing people, and I saw some of the people out there trying to aggress Will and even wanting to take away his camera or his phone. He was videoing with his phone. And so, I quickly walk up there and, and then things calmed down a bit. And also Christina and Pablo were also telling everybody, let's calm down, and gave Will an opportunity to interview not only Mr. Miles, but even, I think it was the chairman of the alcalde, and a few other people to get their views about what was taking place on Sunday.
The debate over the Rupert Miles situation rages on. Earlier today, we caught up with Minister of Foreign Affairs and Attorney General Wilfred Ellerington. Minister Ellerington said he is not of the view that the situation was racial discrimination, but rather a practice by neighboring Mayan communities.
You would have seen my position in relation to Guatemala, because it has come to my knowledge for some months now, if not years now, that Guatemala is experiencing this problem. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with color. Because of an absence of strong institutions in Guatemala, the Indian communities there have been carrying out summary justice in villages that are far away from the cities. And they have been known to, in fact, apprehend people who they alleged to have committed crimes of stealing and other things like that, and actually execute them. This is done in the rural areas of Guatemala, and it is being done more often than we like to think is happening. And the administration is finding it difficult to contain the situation. So it's a dangerous development. And while it is happening in Guatemala, and while the government has limited capacity to deal with it, we in Belize certainly cannot countenance that kind of behavior. We have law and order. If in fact there is a violation of the law by anybody, you go to the police station, you go to the courts. You don't take the law in your own hands. And so it is my view that we must have zero tolerance for that kind of behavior. I generally believe that we must have zero tolerance for all types of infringement of the law. That's my own view. But certainly we cannot countenance that. And I can recall that a year or two ago, the home of some white people, some Americans, I am told, were burnt. But worse than that, I think even before that, there's a man named Johnson who was supposed to have been killed by allegedly Mayans on the basis that he was living in Mayan village, or he had a farm in Mayan village and he should not be there. I think that's my recollection of it. So this is a very serious development, and it's a matter that we must deal with soberly but seriously. It is not a matter of joke. It's a serious matter, because if you allow this to develop and grow, it is going to get out of hand and we will have a real problem in the society. So let me repeat, I don't think it has anything to do with racism. It's a practice that the Mayans are known to conduct in their own, in Guatemala. It's not unusual in Guatemala. I don't know about Mexico, but I know the situation is in Guatemala, and I have made mention of it before to my government and to my cabinet. So it's not something that has come new to me. It's something that is very worrying, and I think it is incumbent upon us, security forces, to take immediate and proper steps to arrest it before it gets out of hand.
Ellerington said it is important that Belizeans become more aware of what is happening within and outside the country. He said the role of the media is crucial in that regard.
This is one country. All of us, as far as I am aware, are entitled to go to any part of the country we want to go to and to reside in any part. This is not two separate countries. The Mayans don't have a kingdom or a country of their own. They live in Belize, the same Belize that you live in, the same Belize that I live in. And in like manner, in which they can travel and live in any part of this country, we, the other members of society, can live and travel in any part of the country. Are there Mayans who are in fact holding a different view? That is very possible. That view, of course, would have been arrived at through ignorance, in the same way in which people were not understanding of my expression of the words artificial border. Well, this is the same kind of thing that is happening. And as I said to you, I think the last time we spoke, it is incumbent upon the media as a fourth arm of government to help in explaining this message. Because if our people genuinely don't understand, they will act under the misguided notion that what they are doing is right, and that is going to hurt everybody in the final analysis. So it's a matter that we must all come together. It's one country, one small country. We can't afford a fracture. So we must come together and work together with it, not in hostility, not in animosity, but with tolerance and understanding, so that our people can know what is in fact the truth. The tragedy with Belize is for far too long we have been kept uninformed. And when we do hear people on the radio and the television, they seem to specialize in misinforming the country for some perverse reason or the other. I like to think that they believe to the perverse, belong to the perverse academy, but when I say that, they get vexed with me. But we have got to do something about it, because unless we get smart fast, all of us will lose. We have to take a quantum leap in knowledge. We have to know more about our domestic situation, about the foreign situation.